Monday night, the entire nation was watching as a healthy 24-year-old safety for the Buffalo Bills, Damar Hamlin, collapsed on field. It spun the whole country into a conversation, and no one is asking the one question that we all should. Okay, so before we get started, if you guys would like, share, subscribe, send this out to somebody, help us get the word out, that would be awesome. If you've watched more than one of our videos, you are one of our peeps, one of our people, one of our followers. We love you, and we thank you for helping us get the word out further. Monday Night Football, much of the nation is watching. Damar Hamlin, tragic accident, just on field, just out of nowhere, collapses, goes into cardiac arrest. There's all kinds of conversations that come out of that. And the first conversation was, what's the importance of the game? A sportscaster is talking online that they'll have 5 minutes, and then the team's like, we're not thinking about that. And that's one of the stories and conversations that come out of this, is what's more important, this man or the game that's on hand? And then that kind of stirred very quickly into, why did this happen? And of course, our country is very divided on health issues and COVID vaccines and what the effects of those are. And you have everybody kind of going with that. So is this a heart attack? Is it induced by this impact, which is what we're seeing in all of the medical reports on this, is this situation called commotio cordis or something like that. 30 cases a year generally in younger kids, and baseball games, soccer, impact to the heart. So that was a conversation that's going on and continues to go because everybody's concerned about health and that kind of stuff. But now we see a conversation on sports safety. Are we doing everything we can to protect the sports stars? I had one commentator say that these men are putting their life on the line for our entertainment. And I think that's a little bit of a dramatic statement. But, there's this whole conversation about safety, especially when you have the context of brain injuries and things like that coming from football. There are obviously conversations about the sports star sudden death syndrome, which kind of relates back to the cause. There's conversations about the prayer that's going on. People like obviously wanting to pray for him. And should we be showing the clip, or should we be showing the people praying? Watched one news commentator talk about that after it happened, players from both sides took a knee. And I thought, no, they actually prayed. They didn't take a knee. That's what they do at the anthem, but they actually prayed because that's what they were doing there. They weren't just taking a knee. They were doing something while they took that knee. So interesting kind of commentaries, and everybody's putting their spin on it. Nobody's asking the one question that we should. Is Damar Hamlin saved? Because very likely any of us at any moment could meet our Creator. And Damar Hamlin, does he know the Lord, right? And that's the most important question. We are all in this situation. We are all in a situation that Damar Hamlin was in 10 minutes before this happened. 10 minutes before this happened, Damar Hamlin thought, everything's going well. I'm going to go out there. I'm being successful. I'm going to try to do what I've been called to do and live my life. He's healthy. He's at the top of his game. All of these things kind of going on. And 10 minutes later, he's in a moment where he could be meeting his Creator. Praying that he doesn't, praying for a full recovery and all these kind of things. But the question that moments like this really should bring up, and they do bring up, is where do we go after we die? Where do we go? What happens when this all ends? And I think that many people just avoid that question. It's one of the reasons as a pastor that I actually think there's more fruitfulness that comes out of funerals than there are weddings. When I officiate a wedding and go through that process, this is a planned beginning. But when I go to a funeral, often it's an unplanned ending. And if our ending is unplanned, if we're not looking at that, it's a reminder. It brings up the importance of knowing where we're going and what we're doing. So as I look at this, I want to put into the conversation, put out there the importance that we're praying for this man. We pray that he comes full recovery. I'm praying that he gets a full recovery. It's a miraculous recovery, and he is recovered praising Jesus. That's my prayer. That's my personal prayer for this situation. But I also pray that the Lord uses a situation like this to remind people of our limited time and our uncertainty, our frailty, that any of us could meet our demise in any moment. You could be driving home and get in a car accident. We have a very good friend whose brother died tragically recently in a car accident. We have friends who have had strokes recently, and there's always going to be death around the corner for all of us. And we need to be prepared by knowing who Jesus is. Because if we die today, then what happens after that? And do we just go into oblivion? Is there heaven? Is there, are we paid for our righteousness or paid for somebody else's? There's all these kind of things going on. And my personal take, and what I'm convinced of because of biblical account, testimony, and the supernatural power of Christ, is that we live a life that is imperfect. And because of that imperfection that we call sin, because of that rebellion against God, just rebelling against God's creation, our tendency to put ourselves above others, to put our own needs above other things, to value ourselves as the highest value in the universe. And we do this in normal, everyday ways by pursuing our own interests instead of others, pursuing our own interests instead of caring about God, pursuing our own interests in any number of ways. And we do this in, choosing the best seat at the table. We also do this by killing other people that are in opposition to us. And this is the human condition. And it separates us from God. And because we're separated, because we are in this human condition that is just dead and hopeless, and we cannot change the way we are, we need an external force to come in. And that's where Jesus comes in. And as God became man, we just celebrated the birth of Christ in Christmas. As he becomes a man, lives a life of perfection, not one that has failures or selfishness, but he lives a selfless life as a sacrifice, completely devoted to God. That sacrifice that he makes on the cross is not only just a political thing that happened in the cultural moment, but it was also an orchestrated event by God with a plan that Jesus' death would be the payment for the sin, for those imperfections that we have, complete us, pay that penalty so that we can be joined with him. And if we have that knowledge, if we have that thing, if you know this is true, like, man, I know I'm a wretched sinner. I know that I'm not able to be everything that I know I should be, right? We continue to fail. C.S. Lewis said that if we find desires in ourselves that we can't achieve here in this world, then we're probably made for something outside of this world. And that gap from what we know we should be to what we are is filled in by Christ. At times like this, these are the conversations that we need to be having. Of course, we need to lift up Damar Hamlin in prayer, but we also just need to meditate on our own mortality and what that means for us, and seriously wrestle with the sacrifice that Jesus made and the resurrection that happened after that as a first fruit of that received sacrifice, so that your life can be changed by the sacrifice and the life that he lived. And I hope that Damar Hamlin has that. I don't know the man. I didn't even know Damar Hamlin's name until Monday night. But I hope that also for you, because Damar Hamlin might have millions of people praying for him, for his recovery, but you have the God of the universe, who, whatever you're going through right now, whatever pain or suffering or complications, the God of the universe is there to support you and to be around you. And he outweighs all of the millions of people that are coming to Damar Hamlin's aid and support and prayer and petition. So as we go through this cultural conversation, if you're a believer, consider these things and look for opportunities to have conversations with others. And if you're not a believer, if this is new stuff to you, look for somebody who knows about it. Look for a church that's in the area. Send us a personal message. I'd love to talk to you about Jesus Christ. Love to talk to you about hope after death. Because ultimately, whether Damar Hamlin lives or dies, he's going to make a great impact right now because the culture is talking about it. But it doesn't mean anything to Damar. He is in a conversation or a situation with him and his creator right now. And I feel for his family. I feel for all these things. And it's just one of those things where at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter what legacy we've left behind financially and materially and accomplishment-wise if it hasn't impacted things for eternity. So your view on eternity should drive your life right now. Those are my thoughts, things that I was thinking as Damar Hamlin's situation has dominated the news headlines and the cultural conversation. I hope that they were encouraging to you. I ask you guys to pray, echo my prayer for Damar Hamlin, that he would have a full recovery, that it would be miraculous, and that he would praise Jesus Praise God for his recovery, because that would be awesome. I loved seeing the prayer and the teams coming in prayer and doing these things and just the call for people to pray. But empty prayer, not to God, is just empty words and it's just thoughts. We got to pray to the actual creator of the universe and his son, Jesus Christ. So God bless you guys. Like, share, subscribe if you would like to, and go out there and be salt and light, impact others, and talk to them about the hope that is in you.